Nebraska just wrapped up a massive press conference today. We heard from Dane Holgorsen, John Butler, multiple players, and so much more, going over all of the things that we need to improve now, sooner rather than later. All of the breakout players you can expect in week 2 and week 3, the things that under the radar we did better than what people are expecting, and so much more. I'll reveal all of the details, and then we'll talk about the AP poll today that was released. My instant reaction: how far away is Nebraska from being ranked? A under the radar game that's going to define our season. It's not Akron, it's not Michigan, but it's in the near future. We'll talk about that one and why it's so important. And then last but not least, a couple key advanced statistics that have been floating out there recently that will give you a lot of optimism on how good this Husker team really is. So really quick, if you're having a good Tuesday, because I know I am, hit that like button. And also, if you're a diehard Nebraska fan, and if you want daily content talking about your favorite team, talking about Nebraska, what are you waiting for this season? This is the only place you get daily content talking Huskers. It's no brainer. Take 2 seconds, hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much. But without further ado, we have a lot to talk about. I want to get things started with the press conferences today. Then, of course, we'll get to the AP poll reaction, the key under the radar game, some advanced statistics that will give you optimism, and so much more. So let's start things off with John Butler, because Dane Holgorsen, he had a lot of nuggets to disclose. But let's go to John, because that's really where the big concern was around our defense, particularly defensive line. So for that reason, I was very intrigued to see what he would say about that, what we need to improve going forward. And honestly, I don't want to sound like John Butler downplayed our defense, because he definitely did it, but it was on the same level of what we heard from Dane Holgorsen, where John Butler said, simply put, the defense, they need to play faster. The same thing we heard from Matt Rowe yesterday. Not only this defensive line needs to play faster, but the linebackers need to play faster. The fastest playing linebacker we had on Thursday was Vinton Shavers, and he wasn't even starting, right? Marcus Watson-Turner was not playing as fast as we need him to. Buda Wright, Dasan McCullough, Willis McGahee, Jordan Ashoa in the limited snaps he got. This entire linebacker unit, they weren't playing fast enough. They weren't making the game-changing plays that we require on defense. So simply, this entire unit needs to play faster. But also, talking specifically about the defensive line, I guess I wasn't too thrilled with his answer, because again, I've watched this Cincinnati game about 3 or 4 times at this point. Again, I think honestly that watching it the 4th time yesterday night, I think we played pretty decent. I'm starting to feel a lot better about this team as the days go on. I'm starting to feel worse about the defensive line. Everything else I'm feeling great about, right? The secondary played great. We'll get to that later. The offense played better than I even gave it credit for at the moment. But the defensive line, every time I watch the film, it's worse. It's worse and worse and worse. It was literally the worst defensive line performance we've seen in a very long time. So I needed him to, kind of say, okay, we need to do whatever it takes to get this defensive line better. And really, I wasn't thrilled with his answer. He said that the defensive line, the problem was all the things they were doing pre-snap, the alignment, where they were lined up, whether it was at 3 technique, 0 technique. Some guys were inside too much, some guys were outside too much. It really wasn't too much about the execution. It's that these guys are just focused on the small details, and once they can figure that out, everything else will come in place. I'm not sure if I agree with John Butler there. And again, feel free to disagree with me. Let me know your thoughts down below, because I do believe it kind of was an execution issue. I definitely do think some of these defensive linemen aren't big enough. Maybe some of them aren't talented enough. I think the majority of players on the defensive line are talented enough, but they just weren't executing at the level that we were expecting. So again, did he downplay it completely? No, but maybe wasn't the answer I was looking for. I was looking for from John Butler, yeah, the defensive line, they didn't play good enough. That was embarrassing. That was not expected. We're going to do whatever it takes to make it better. That's really what I was expecting. It's that simple of an answer. Him saying, okay, it was just the pre-snap stuff. I think it was definitely more than that. But again, that was really all we heard from John Butler. He didn't go in detail too much more. So the secondary played well. I agree with. He said that obviously the big issue was we couldn't stop the rushing quarterback, which that was huge. And it's not going to get much easier, because we play Bryce Underwood later in the season who can run. We play Drew Aller who can run. So I agree with him on that. All right, let's get to Dane Holgorsen, because he disclosed some big time nuggets. He's always honest. Let's get to number 1. Again, he talked a little bit about Janiran. Okay, we'll put a bow on Janiran going down. He said that, again, that's a bigger loss, what people are giving credit for. There's not a single player on this roster. Carter Nelson, you can say Isaiah Mozee, you can say any player on this roster, a receiver, tight end, doesn't matter. There's not a player who can replicate Janiran completely. So he said it's going to take multiple guys to do it. He's such an asset in practice. He's such a physical player. So Janiran, it's a big loss, and that's a huge hurt for this offense, for this entire team. He's the fan base. We just need to respect Janiran a little bit more, because again, he was doing a lot of good things. So I agree with him on that. Honestly, the thing I love about Dana, and I say this all the time, I love listening to Dana talk. because he's so honest. He's a breath of fresh air. And Dana was not happy in this press conference. He wasn't. And I love that because I think a lot of people, we think that offense played lights out. That really wasn't the case. We didn't put up 20 points. We probably should have put up 30. We probably should have even put up 35, right? So he said that there are 5 particular things that we did not do good at all versus Cincinnati that we need to improve going in Akron, but specifically going into Michigan. Number 1, yards per play was not good enough, right? Just terrible. I mean, I love it that we have an offense coordinator now who knows what a good yards per play statistic is, because Marcus Satterfield literally on record said he doesn't know what yards per play even means. Like, he doesn't even know what's good. So that was crazy. We had to deal with that for 2 years. But he said the yards per play needs to get better. The explosive plays needs to get better. Obviously, Cincinnati, we told you guys on Game Time, like, that's part of their game plan. They're going to try to take away the big play. But simply put, like, if there's an open man downfield, Dylan got him. And there were too many times, I feel like, in Cincinnati where we did have an open man downfield. There was one play in particular in the third quarter where Haarberg was open and Dylan just didn't see him. Right, so Dylan, he was doing good with the checkdowns, right? He was taking what the defense was giving him, but at the same time, there were opportunities to go with explosive plays, and we just missed them. We didn't see it, right? So that needs to get better. Dana talked about that. He said number 3, simply put, we didn't put enough points. I agree with him. Number 4, he said missed opportunities. We can't penalties on the goal line. Number 5, he also said we couldn't break tackles. Like, there were multiple times in this game where we were 1 tackle away from, having that explosive play, right? Jacory Barney had a jet sweep where, again, if he broke 1 tackle, he would have been gone. Or Emmett Johnson, there was one play where we were at the 30-yard line. There was a hole as big as the Atlantic Ocean, and he could have just went right through it, got an easy touchdown, and he couldn't break the tackle, right? We only broke 5 or 6 tackles the entire day. Okay, that cannot happen going forward. So that's something that he's going to preach going forward. But again, I love that about Dana. He's always about, again, trying to get better. We're never perfect, right? Sometimes I honestly feel like at least my initial impression after Cincinnati is that the team was a little bit too happy. Like, if we want to be as good as we think we're going to be this year, 10 wins, 9 wins, whatever, we probably shouldn't have been too ecstatic about only being Cincinnati by 3 points. And I'm happy to hear, like, from a Mike Eckler and a Dana Holgorsen standpoint, those guys are not complacent. Even John Butler's not even complacent. All those guys understand it wasn't good enough. So I love that mindset from them. And then again, he said, when you get the running backs more involved, that they try to get Isaiah Mozee involved in the ball game, and he just didn't look good. Like, simply put, he said Isaiah Mozee, it wasn't going well, and he said we can't play him, right? Same deal with Mekhi Nelson. Again, 1 snap, they said this is not going to work. So that's the reason why Emmett was rolling so much and played 25 carries, simply because they tried the other running backs. So they said these guys just aren't ready. So he said going forward, we got to make sure to get more reps in practice because we can't have this in the future, or else we know that Emmett's going to go down. And then last but not least, he said it's good to get challenged early in the season, right? It's going to make us better as a team. Again, all these games are sloppy. I mean, I feel, after watching all these other week 1 games, we watched UNC last night get, torched by TCU. I think all of us should feel a little bit better. Like, were we a finished product? Absolutely not. I told you guys, expect to be sloppy going into it, but we were a lot less sloppy than some of the other ball games. So I think that gives Nebraska fans a lot of confidence going forward that, okay, this is not the final product. And Dana, again, agrees with me on that, says, again, it's good to be challenged and we're going to be fine going forward. So those are all the nuggets. So a lot of players talk. Dylan talked. Luke Lindenmeyer talked. I always say, like, there's not much you can really learn from the players. They don't really share too much. They don't have as much insight as maybe the coaches, at least not during the season. Dylan said that he played really well. In his eyes, the only thing that Dylan said that he needs to improve is, again, some of those stupid plays where, again, that 4th down from Dylan where he pretty much almost threw a pick 6, and we were lucky the defender dropped the football, so he's just trying to make something happen on nothing, right? So, again, it's just those lapses that Dylan has sometimes. Like, Dylan will have a perfect ball game, and it'll just be one play where he just tries to make something happen, and he'll screw over the team because he'll throw an interception, or he'll get, maybe in this case, get lucky and the opponent will drop it. But Dylan just got to cut that out because that's really holding him back from being, he's a good quarterback right now. In order to be a great quarterback, he can't have those lapses and judgments at any point in the ball game. So wanted to get to that, but none of the other players really disclosed anything important. Getting to the other things that we need to talk about today, let's go to the AP poll. So, of course, Nebraska, we were not ranked in the AP poll, which is not a surprise to anybody, but we were in the votes received. So if you guys were paying attention, going in the preseason poll, we were technically 34th in the country. We went down 1 spot to 35th in the country. So, again, we're still about 10 spots away from being ranked. I guess I'm a little bit surprised. I actually kind of thought we'd go up. Just because, yes, it was a close game, but it was national television, and with all these other teams struggling, like, I'll just read off to you the teams that are ahead of us right now on getting votes. You got Missouri ahead of us. You got South Florida's ahead of us getting votes. Tulane's ahead of us getting votes. They beat Northwestern, right? Like, there's not a bunch of great squads here. I don't know, but we're 35 right now, so let me know your thoughts down below about that. And also should be mentioned, I mean, just looking at this objectively, I don't agree with a lot of these rankings. Like Florida State at 14, yeah, they beat Alabama, was a great win, but that's too high for Florida State. Going from unranked to 14 is pretty much ludicrous. Michigan goes down to 15. You got Iowa State as high as 16. I don't think they're that good, even though they did have, of course, that week 0 win versus Kansas State. And then 21 Alabama. They should not be ranked. Let's be real here. Alabama should not be ranked. So, all right, guys, that is the AP poll. And then I want to have a conversation about a game on the schedule that I think is going to really tell us a lot more about this team than what we're going to give it credit for, right? And it's not the Michigan game. I did not mean to pull up the Michigan game. It's the game right after that. After the bye week, Michigan State. And I know a lot of people, we aren't talking about the Michigan State game because we feel like it's a victory. Michigan State, they did not make a bowl game last year. They won 5 games. But the reason why I believe Michigan State's going to be incredibly important for Nebraska is because, I was thinking a lot last night. I can pretty much predict what these next couple of games are going to look like for Nebraska. Okay, we're going to beat Houston. We're going to beat Akron. It's going to be 40-point victory, right? We're going to leave a lot left to be desired. Same deal with Houston. We're going to win that football game, but again, there's not really much you can learn. So all eyes are on that Michigan game, and what's inevitably going to happen against Michigan is we'll probably lose that game very close. We'll show a lot of improvement. The defensive line will play better, but in Nebraska fashion, we'll lose a close game, and then we'll go into the bye week, and the fan base is debating between itself. It's either we're mad that we lost against Michigan, we feel like we had a lot of missed opportunities to win that football game, and then the other side of the fan base says, oh, we should just be happy we were in such a close game and get such a good team. We're getting better clearly, and it's the moral victory side. So what's going to happen in this bye week is what happens is the other side's going to win out, where they say, okay, it's a moral victory, we're going to be better, we're going to go to Michigan State. Okay, Michigan State's the game that really proves everything. That's going to really prove how good we are, because I'm not expecting to beat Michigan at this point in time. If we go out there against Michigan State and struggle and lose that football game, we're a 6-win team. Michigan State's very much improved. Now, if we go into Michigan State and we dominate them and we win by the 3 touchdowns that we should, again, that brings us back hope that, okay, maybe this still can be the playoff year, maybe the 9-win year that we're hoping. So again, I think the Michigan game, it's overstated, for an importance level. Like, it is important, and hopefully we go out there and shock people and get an upset. But at this point, I'm just not expecting it. Really, Michigan State's going to tell us how good we actually are. Okay, so I'm kind of circling that game because I'm not feeling great about Michigan anymore, right? I'm just not. I'm just objectively not. Like, Michigan, they did not have the week 1 that I was hoping for them. I was actually hoping they would struggle, and they did struggle. But still, they're a better team than us. They are. So just wanted to talk about that really quick, and then also wanted to get to these 2 advanced statistics that should give you some hope. This was posted. 14 Power 4 quarterbacks have played another Power 4 team this week. Only 1 completed over 60% of their passes and 200-plus yards and 2 touchdowns, and that was Dylan Raiola. Now, granted, that statistic is not accurate. There's a couple other quarterbacks added to this list. I believe C.J. Carr was added to this list, Devin Dampier, and one more. I think maybe I can't remember who's the other one. It should be in the comment section here. Yeah, Carson Beck's on this list now. So, okay, 4 quarterbacks are on this list. But still, again, Dylan Raiola had a really good performance. I just think with Dylan, we're to the point where maybe his performance is a little bit overrated. Again, he had a lot of knucklehead decisions at times, putting that ball on the deck. They could have had a scoop and score. They could have had that pick 6. That, again, if either of those went their way, they would have won the football game, thanks to Dylan Raiola. So, again, did Dylan play bad? Absolutely not, but I would give him a grade easily of a C+, B-, because of those bonehead decisions that probably could have lost the ball game, and just simply because I don't think his vision was there. And I told you guys with Dylan, like, I'm going to be harsh with him because I have a lot of lofty expectations for Dylan. If you believe that Dylan's only an average quarterback, you could be perfectly fine with what he did against Cincinnati, and you can praise him, and that's awesome. But I believe that Dylan could be a top 10 quarterback. I believe that Dylan could be even a top 5 quarterback if he lives up to expectations. For that reason, I'm going to be harsh on Dylan. Like, if Dylan's struggling, I'll point it out because there's always ways for him to improve. If I just thought he was an average quarterback, I'd be perfectly okay with him against Cincinnati. But I'm expecting a lot of high things from him, along with the rest of this team. So that's why I'm going to kind of nitpick these small things because, again, I have high expectations. I'm not expecting 6 wins. Okay, this is not. Like, the whole breakout year for Matt Rule, 7 wins is not a breakout year. 9 is. 10 is. So I'm going to hold him to that. Anyways, wanted to talk about that. And then, of course, we've been hyping up the secondary. This was a really, really good statistics. Nebraska had their best coverage game in the history of Pro Football Focus. Again, it's been around for about 10 years in Nebraska. I mean, blew pretty much every single record we had previously out of the water with our performance against Cincinnati. So, again, our secondary played lights out. I thought everybody played well. The only guy I'll like looking back on the film that I was pretty much disappointed with was Malcolm Hartzog. Like, Malcolm had a tough day, and thank goodness he had the interception at the end of the ball game to seal it, to pretty much wipe all of that clean. But, I thought Andrew Marshall played well. I thought Sear was not targeted one time. Sear was great. The safeties were great. Deshaun and Marcus Buford. And Malcolm gave up some big plays from time to time, right? And he had that pass interference, but Malcolm's going to continue to get better, hopefully. And again, if he can have these clutch interceptions, if he can be that clutch player in defense, that Trevon Diggs, like if Trevon Diggs is not the most lockdown corner in the world, but what Trevon Diggs does, he gets interceptions for his team and he makes game-changing plays, right? He's not locked down, but he's going to make that play that's going to win you the ball game. Like, that's what I want from Malcolm Hartzog at this point in his career. So, anyways, just wanted to talk about that. All right, guys, hope you have a good day. Let me know your thoughts about everything. Hey, if you made this far, hit that like button and subscribe as always, folks. Go be great, go Mineral, and I'll see you in the next one.